Dad? Dad, are you all right?
One thing about living in Santa Carla I never could stomach. All the damn vampires.
You know, Drew, they had the R rating already. You know, guy says, damn vampires. I really thought he was going to go with vampires.
They should have used it.
Too many fucking vampires. Wouldn't that have hit harder for the last line of the movie?
That's like, that is the type of place that you use it.
Yeah.
You gotta use it. It's not even PG-13. Like, it was rated R. They could have used multiples.
Yeah, I feel like that would have like made that a more classic line, right?
That's the kind of line that would be repeated for years.
Yeah.
All the time.
It's like Snakes on a Plane, right?
Yes.
It's like the same thing.
It's exactly the Snakes on a Plane thing. Is exactly what it is. So.
and just like Snakes on a Plane, if when this movie is played on, you know, cable TV or whatever, they could have made it a ridiculous edit, like Snakes on a Plane.
Yeah.
All of the flippity-floppity vampires or whatever. Like, instead of damn, they could have made it a stupid, you know. And that would have been iconic, even more so. But
it would.
But I digress.
Oh, man. Well, welcome back to the Last Row Podcast. This is episode 116. We're finally doing it, guys. We got a lot of people asking for this. We're finally doing it. The Lost Boys is here. Before we talk about it, if you're looking for the website is thelastrowpodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you find us, at The Last Row Pod. And if you're enjoying the show, or if you're new to the show, please consider subscribing and leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser. Thanks to everyone that did so far. I'm kind of excited to talk about this movie, Badway. It's been a long time coming. I
got two things. One, if you're a listener of the show and you have yet to leave a 5-star review, that's like stealing from the podcast.
You wouldn't steal a car, would you?
You wouldn't steal a car. You wouldn't. Oh, man. I hope people get that joke.
I think they will.
Yeah. No, and secondly, yes, people have been requesting Lost Boys for years, and get ready to be disappointed when we botch it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, what is it? We have to shout out to Bill. I have to shout out to Chris. I have to shout out to... There's a million people that have asked for this, but we finally did it.
Yeah, and from a unique perspective of neither Drew or I have actually seen this movie front to back until right this weekend. So this is a thrill for us to botch your nostalgia. So here we go. Plot synopsis: Lost Boys, July 31st, 1987. Drew, were you alive in 1987?
I was a little baby boy,
alive but barely breathing. Runtime 1 hour 37 minutes.
That's good.
Horror comedy 137. Perfect.
That was perfect. Yeah, 100. Remember our other alternative podcast that we almost did 100 or less. There you go.
I think the Holy Grail is 99. You strive for 99 minutes.
99.
That's the perfect runtime.
Is a horror comedy? Is it a homedy? Like what? What is it?
It's a horror.
A horror or a homedy?
I'm a fan of just dark comedy. I don't know the horror into it. It's dark comedy. IMDb 7.2 out of 10. That's about right.
Yeah, that's about right.
About right.
All right.
Rotten Tomatoes 77%.
All right.
That's about right. Metacritic 63%.
Probably Metacritic it's about maybe a little too low.
A little too low. Letterboxd 3.7 out of 5 out of 102,000 votes.
That's too low for what I would have expected with this.
Probably too low. People love this movie.
I would have expected it to be higher, especially for a Joel Schumacher flick.
Yeah. Teenage brothers Michael, and Sam move in with their mother to a small town in Northern California, while the younger Sam meets a pair of kindred spirits in geeky comic book nerds Edward and Alan. The angst-ridden Michael. Doing it in the Kiefer voice is the best. Michael, drink is Michael. Soon falls for Star, total porn star name.
Yeah,
who turns out to be
star.
Turns out to be enthralled to David, leader of a local gang of vampires. Sam and his new friends must save Michael. And Star from the undead. Rated Michael.
Drink it, Michael. Hello, Michael.
Michael.
So I've not listened, especially as you said, as someone who hasn't really seen this, like instantly I was like, this has to be a meme, right? It's got to be, because I mean, come on, Michael. Hello, Michael. Yeah. Michael.
It was said over 100 times. It had to be at least one Michael per minute on average.
I'm posting a link. There's a supercut on YouTube that I found. I'll put a link in the show notes. I watched and was just like cracking up the whole time. I'm like, whoever did this is a genius.
A lot of times I have a mental block watching movies where I forget characters' names. No chance in hell I'm forgetting Michael.
You're never forgetting this guy's name.
I knew the damn character's name was Michael.
Man, let me tell you, by the way, we got candidates for Last Row Hall of Fame taglines here. I'm not going to build it up too much for you, but this is like potentially winners? Last Row Hall of Fame taglines. I'm a sucker for a good tagline. So, all right, first one. Sleep all day, party all night, never grow old, never die. It's fun to be a vampire.
Ooh, I like that one. It's like Steel Panther vibes.
Yeah, I like that one.
Hey.
There's a lot of bleeps that you do put it there.
No, I won't go on. But yeah, no, it's good.
I like that one a lot. And then
up.
The second one is being wild is in their blood. I like that one too.
That's a winner.
It's short and sweet.
It's short and sweet, and it's just like vague enough to titillate your juices.
Put that on the cover, man. Like the poster for this, by the way, is iconic in my opinion. I feel like the picture of Jason Patrick with the glasses, and then you got Kiefer and the crew in the back. That's all I think about. And then this on the poster, it's good, really good. Okay. Budget, so $8.5 million was what I saw on Wikipedia, which is less than I would have expected. It's pretty small.
You know what adds to that is the fact that for much of the movie, they hide the vampire actions.
Yeah.
Like there's assumed flying and swooping in and killing by the vampires, but it's all done off screen. Where from like a victim's point of view where you can't really see. So that probably cut down a lot of the budget.
I was going to ask you, I mean, we can talk about it later too, but I wasn't sure how I felt about that. In a lot of ways, I do like it because if you see Kiefer flying with those like weird toenails and stuff, it might look kind of lame, but it's more menacing when you don't actually see it. It's like in Signs, when you didn't see the alien, it's kind of creepy. I'm
always a fan of off-screen action.
Don't show it
if it's done right, and I think it was done right in this case. Maybe, and part of it might have been because of lack of budget, to where you didn't want to make it look cheap, so you might as well not see it at all. So the imagination is enough.
I agree. And then a worldwide return on this thing, cumulative, was on Wikipedia, it said 32.2. So does this put it in cult classic territory?
Absolutely. Yeah. I had a feeling that this didn't do particularly well at the box office in relation to how it's perceived by the masses nowadays. So,
yeah.
Totally.
And from an award standpoint, it did get some buzz. So it actually won a Saturn Award for Best Horror Film. And it went up against some good stuff here. So in 80, this was 88, the Academy of Science of Fantasy and Horror Films in the United States, it won, and it went up against Evil Dead 2, Near Dark, Pumpkinhead, Hellraiser, and A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. It's great colon, by the way. Great colon. So did that, and then it was nominated for a bunch of different awards. So you had Best Supporting Actor, Bernard Hughes, Best Performance by Younger Actor, Corey Haim, which I have a lot of thoughts about. Best Costumes, which I think that's pretty good, Susan Becker. Best Makeup, I thought that was pretty good too. And then it also, Corey Feldman won a Young Artist Award in 88 for Best Young Actor in a Horror Film. Yeah. And then I believe it was also a winner for Teenage Favorite Horror Drama Motion Picture, and it was nominated for Best Young Male Superstar in Motion Pictures, Corey Haim.
Teenage Favorite Horror Drama?
Let me look it. I need to look this up of who they went against because I need to know. So Corey Feldman, so I just looked this up. Best Young Actor in a Horror Motion Picture Film. Corey Feldman won for this. He went up against Stephen Dorff from The Gate and Michael Sharrett from Deadly Friend, which I have not seen.
Not that high of a competition there, Corey.
Yeah, and then Corey Haim lost to. Oh man, this is a tough one. So Best Young Male Superstar in Motion Pictures. Look this up. He lost to The Mosquito Coast, River Phoenix for The Mosquito Coast, and then David Mendenhall from Over the Top. That's another movie we got to do on this podcast. I've never actually watched that all the way through too, but
it's a gem.
In any event, decent, awards here. So it's done pretty good. I'm surprised that Kiefer wasn't nominated for anything, and I saw some trivia on this. I don't know if my IMDb moratorium is still on, but a lot of stuff was saying that he didn't really want to join in the movie. And there was I saw the same thing about Jason Patrick, but then the thing that I saw that was kind of funny was they said he heard that Joel Schumacher had lined up In Excess and Jimmy Barnes to sing some of the songs on the soundtrack, and he was spending his summer in Australia, and he became a fan of the music. So it's like he did the movie because of the soundtrack.
What is he, 10? Come on. All right, your IMDb privileges are revoked again. Come on, that's
maybe.
ridiculous.
And then
I don't believe that for a second.
And then I saw Jason Patrick didn't really want to be the role of Michael, but he didn't want to be in a vampire movie, quote, wearing fangs and flying around. And it took him a whole bunch of meetings with Schumacher, and then he persuaded him.
Now, I could envision a scenario where Jason Patrick in 1987 or whatever was afraid of, quote unquote, looking like a sissy. I could see that a thing that Jason Patrick was afraid of.
Well, especially after watching Entourage and however he portrayed himself, it's obviously a joke, but he looked like he was 45 in this. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Like, everyone looked so old in this.
He was at least 27 years old in this movie.
And then I saw something else, too, that said Jim Carrey was also considered for the role of David, and he was in, obviously, the movie Once Bitten. What do you think about that? Would Jim Carrey have been...
He's too goofy, even back then.
He was.
Even though he wasn't truly well-known back then.
That's true.
He was goofy in Once Bitten, which not too many people watch because, honestly, it's not a very good movie. But, yeah, come on. I don't believe it. Seems like a rumor. While I uncovered, Drew, that one of Kiefer's lackeys was almost Ben Stiller.
That would be ridiculous.
There's a rumor around that Ben Stiller has fed the fire to where he tried out for one of, alongside Billis Preston and all that, as one of like the backup goon vampires, which would have been ridiculous in hindsight. But back then, he was 21 at the time. I feel like he would have fit in back then. But how funny would it have been to see that now? Him looking Zoolander-ish.
Because they were all doing Blue Steel the whole time. Like all these guys, especially the guy with the hair, like you mentioned Steel Panther, like the guy that looks like the bassist from Steel Panther.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I know that Alex Winter is in this, and he's a very iconic actor. Like his face is very, but it's different because I know him from Bill and Ted, whereas Ben Stiller from like everything. And Alex Winter's like a director now, and he's obviously very talented, but like Ben Stiller it's Ben Stiller. Like you guys talk about Ben Affleck playing Batman. It's like, oh, that's Ben Affleck. Like Ben Stiller as a background vampire in this movie would have been absolutely ridiculous for me.
All those vampires, they looked like they belonged in like Prince's backup band. Like it was like the cast of Charlemagne or something.
They did.
It's like ridiculous.
I saw something else that was funny. Speaking of Alex Winter, so at the time the movie was made, his name was still listed as Alexander Winter in the union from like the SAG, I guess, or whatever, SAG-AFTRA. And Schumacher begged him to shorten his name so it wouldn't take up so much space in the title. But because the name couldn't be changed in time, his full name still made it into the finished film, which frustrated Joel Schumacher. Can't you see him getting mad about that?
No, I don't believe it for a second. I think you're ridiculous with this IMDb stuff. Why does he care about freaking 4 letters?
Save space in the titles.
4 letters.
Save space in the titles.
It's crazy.
You mentioned in the beginning it should have leveraged the R rating more.
Yeah.
Do you think this deserved an R rating, and was it violent enough to deserve it?
I was 2/3 of the way through the movie, and I was like, so why is this movie rated R? I mean, this is screaming a PG-13, especially back in the mid 80s. I know there was some gore in the last, third, and the one feasting scene had some, blood spraying and stuff like that. I still didn't think it was very shocking or very R worthy. I thought that if they wanted to, they could have edited around it to make it more universally, seen if they wanted to make it PG-13.
There were certainly some violent scenes, like you mentioned, especially the feasting scene and maybe the implied violence. And then that weird, like ghost kind of sex scene, I guess, between Jason Patrick and Jamie Gertz. But that even could have been more skin. Like there wasn't enough skin.
No, there was nothing to that. There was no F-bombs. There was no swearing. And there was no sex. I mean,
no boobs and butts either.
I mean, if they wanted to throw the sex scene in with Jason Patrick and what's her name, Gertz, they certainly could have. I would not have complained.
You got 2 very good looking people there.
Use
Show
what
some
you
boobs
got.
and butts.
Use what you got. This is the 80s, for God's sake. You got the R rating. Let's go for it.
I looked this up because I was like, man, there's a bunch of deaths in this, and like this is how deep we had to cut for this, people. Like I had to go to. I checked All Out of Bubblegum. I checked moviebodycounts.com.
No go.
None. There was nothing. But listen, this is how deep we're pulling. I had to go to the list of deaths wiki, by the way. So Lists of Deaths wiki has 18 deaths, and I'm telling you, this is in third place. It's a third-rate source here. I'm gonna have to become an editor because some of these deaths I just do not agree the way that they listed them. They had Grandma Emerson listed as a body count. She died of an unknown cause off screen. No,
Can't do that.
They had Star listed as a death who was turned into a vampire by David, but she's already dead.
She's not dead. She's half dead. She's undead.
She's half dead.
She's undead.
Undead. They had Laddie as well. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff here, right? But I just don't think that counts.
I'm going to use some executive powers to nix this list.
We can't go with list of deaths.
Even in an emergency situation, this is just second rate. And who are we? We're top notch. You know?
I agree with you though. It could have used a little bit more violence.
Yeah.
But maybe they weren't going for that. You mentioned it's a horror / comedy, dark comedy, if you will.
Right. I just think why not use your lack of gore and sex and language to like make it PG-13? Maybe they would have made more money. But I mean, what do I care? I mean, I'm not. I don't have a seat in the studio, so
they had that rated R because of that greased up guy playing saxophone. I mean, that was too hot.
Yeah.
The MPAA saw that. They're like, slap a rated R rating on that thing.
Yeah, that scene was longer. They had to cut it down from NC-17.
What's that movie? This movie is not yet rated. And
he was actually in a banana hammock, and they made him put pants on. That's
fully nude sax man.
The uncut version. You know.
So I mean, you said it earlier as well, pretty well. I've seen a lot of bits and pieces of this movie, but I've never actually seen it all the way through. And I'll give you a lot of credit for this. I think it's good to kind of talk about this as maybe people who don't have a nostalgic lens on this.
Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts on this movie as someone who hasn't seen it growing up multiple times, or maybe you've seen pieces of it throughout your years?
Yeah. I mean, I got to be honest. I enjoyed it, but it didn't hit me, as a, oh man, classic. I can't wait to see it again. And that comes with just not experiencing it as a youth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like seeing it now, what is it? I don't know. 30 years later, 35 years later. I don't know what the hell. 30 years later. It's experiencing it for the first time is not ideal. I would have been better served seeing this in the 90s.
Yeah. And
I wish I had. Maybe I would have more love for it. But as it stands, as a standalone, I thought it was a very solid comedy / drama / vampire movie. And that's all.
I liked it a lot. I mean, I was excited to watch this when people were writing in, but I do agree with you in that I don't think it hit me as much as it might have had I seen it multiple times over the years. Like, I'm sure a lot of the movies that we watch, right? Like a lot of these Van Damme and Stallone and Schwarzenegger movies, like if you've never seen those before and you go watch that now, you're probably like, okay, like I don't get it. You're going to pull a big.
Pull a Josh
I don't
Baskins.
get it. But I didn't feel that way about this.
Here's what I think I pulled from it that maybe I wouldn't have if I had been blinded by nostalgia or first experienced it as a kid and grown up with it. From an adult lens, and yeah, I guess I consider myself an adult, even though I don't feel like it a lot of the times, and I'm sure you feel the same way sometimes.
I do.
There were like the themes of not wanting to grow up, kids handling divorce, your sibling getting older and kind of like separating from you. Those are all like background themes in this movie that really jumped out to me, that I felt like maybe someone, and correct me if I'm wrong, nostalgia people who have seen this a million times, maybe that's kind of lost on you, or maybe not seen until you're like 20th watched as you grow older. Where I thought it was very smack in the face, those themes of growing up and changing, the changing of times, hard times, divorce, sticking together as a family, the brother dynamic, which they're still kind of friends but drifting apart, and like add the vampire thing in it, and it really like magnifies it. I mean, that's what really stood out to me more so than the actual vampire story.
I definitely agree with you. I think it's it's got a lot of layers to it for a movie that on its surface could be pretty simple. Yeah,
right.
But I definitely agree with you. And I don't know that I would have picked up on that as a younger person, maybe watching it for the first couple times. And that's what I liked the most about it. I liked a lot of those themes. I thought it was it was fun, but it also had some deep themes to it. Like if you can say that, it's a horror comedy movie about vampires. But I like the cast too. I thought the cast was really good. I thought everyone, for the most part, was pretty well cast. And I like the vibe of it too. Like, I'm just an 80s, 90s vibe guy. And I thought it was like the style was kind of cool. I like the video store aspect of it. The boardwalk theme park, carnival, situation, and just the different actors like Kiefer Sutherland. I like Kiefer Sutherland, so put him in a movie and I'm gonna enjoy it. But I haven't seen a lot of Jason Patrick stuff though, to be honest. This is other than Entourage, his cameo in that, and other than Speed 2 Cruise Control, which I've never actually seen. Yeah. I don't know that I've really seen him in anything. Yeah. Have you?
He was great in Sleepers. That's one of my favorite movies, and it's kind of like an underrated movie. It's got Brad Pitt, and it's got a bunch of people in it. It's about the kids facing a tragedy and then growing up with it later on in life and how they deal with it. But yeah, he's done a lot of movies that, I guess really haven't been up my alley. But I would love to live in a world where we got to meet Jason Patrick and you just told him to his face, "Hey, dude, I loved you in season 4, episode 7 of Entourage."
I mean, I know he's like an accomplished actor, and he was good in this. Like as someone who came into this not really knowing many of his movies, I liked him as the main character, and everyone calling his name Michael 100 times. Like I thought he was. Like, I wasn't sure what I would think of him, and I thought he was good. He's really good. Yeah. So maybe it'll make me watch more of his stuff. But you obviously had Feldman and Corey Haim, and then you got Alex Winter we talked about. Like, I just like the cast in this thing, and some of the other people too. But Sax Guy, like, we got to talk about that for a second. Did you know this?
It looked like the British Bulldog to me. Was he the British Bulldog?
It's not him, but it looks like him. So yeah, it's Tim Capello. He's an artist, right? But he's like a composer and a vocalist and all that stuff. So but yeah, he's a musician, and you can look him up now, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff. But Tim Capello is the name. But man, I love that. He looks like British Bulldog.
He does, certainly does.
So, I like the style.
Yeah.
Is this our first vampire movie that we've done?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, we haven't done many horror movies in general, so it's certainly our first vampire movie.
I think it's got to be, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to talk about like vampires as a horror creature. And what is like maybe what I don't know against other creatures, because I think that would be interesting, especially when you think about we've done the Mummy, so obviously we could talk about mummies for a second. But like, what if we started talking about different creatures? What are the ones that you would put on this list, and like what do you think is maybe either scariest or the most powerful, and where do vampires rank on that?
So we're talking about classic monsters, right? So it's funny how you mentioned the Mummy, because when I think of the Mummy, I don't think of that mummy. I think of just like the dude wrapped toilet paper, walking very slowly, which is the least scary thing you could possibly be. Like, how does the Mummy get you?
Not Emotep?
Yeah. I've never seen like what did they call it? The Universal Monsters, whatever.
Yeah.
I've never seen that Mummy. Like, I don't know how it goes, but Mummy's got to be the last. However many things there are, Mummy's last. Right?
It's going to fall over trying to get you. His bones will break.
So we got vampires, we got mummies, we got the werewolves, which is like the nemesis of the vampire. I don't know. So Twilight would have you believe
the arch nemesis.
Yeah, and then you got your ghosts, right?
Yeah. Where do ghouls rank on there? That's what I want to know.
What is the difference between a ghoul and a ghost?
So I don't know, because to me, ghosts and ghouls is obviously the game, but like a ghoul. What do you think a ghoul is? Like I have thoughts, but
to me, a ghoul is like a scumbag version of a ghost, right? It's like a ghost, but more nefarious or like creepy. Not in a scary way, but in a like, I don't know, like there's something wrong with you kind of way.
I looked up the definition of this, and I pasted it in here in the notes, but it says a ghoul, and there's probably a lot of these, but a legendary evil being that robs graves and feeds on corpses. There you go.
There you go.
And like I played Witcher, right? The Witcher games. If you play The Witcher, there's ghouls in there, and they're always hanging out in the graveyards and stuff like that.
It's a scumbag ghost. So like a ghoul is kind of like, I don't know. Does a ghoul have a body, or is a ghoul also like a being like a ghost?
I feel like a ghoul,
spiritual being.
The way I see a ghoul, I don't think that a ghoul, like I look at a ghost as like an apparition, right? It's not a physical being.
As compared to a zombie.
Yeah, like a zombie is a physical
corpse. A physical being, yes. With no soul.
Correct.
No soul.
It's undead, but it's like, it's kind of it's an animated corpse, maybe a zombie
there you go. Animated corpse.
Good words. Like a ghoul, I look at a ghoul and I'm thinking about the Witcher games, and I think more about like a ghoul as like a little thing that's just like running around. Like, I don't know, it's almost like it looks like a little beast. It's hard to describe. It looks like a terror dog from Ghostbusters is what I think of when I think of like a ghoul, but that's in the Witcher fandom. So I don't know.
So I feel like a ghost would want to possess you, whereas a ghoul might want to sexually assault you.
Well, unless you're in Ghostbusters, right?
That's my okay. So a zombie is like a reanimated corpse, where a ghost is like a soul.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
But what about like I mean, I need to bust out like Tobin's Spirit Guide right now because like what's a poltergeist? Because there's the poltergeist, and there's like subcategories of ghosts here. I guess is what we're getting into. Maybe this is too much. I don't know.
A ghost is more likely to leave an ectoplasmic trail.
Yes.
Whereas a zombie will leave like a trail of its own innards.
Yes, and its own guts are like falling on. But like, but what is a poltergeist? Like, so I'm thinking about ectoplasm, like you said, like the library stacks in Ghostbusters, and it's got that like, and could a ghost like beat a werewolf? Like, I'm thinking about a bracket here, like who can beat who? Because I think vampires are tough too.
It's hard for a ghost to beat anybody just because it doesn't have a physical presence, you know. But it kind of does. Like, there's ghosts in Ghostbusters can drive a taxi cab and destroy a ballroom, for example, right?
Maybe those are ghouls. I don't know.
Those could be ghouls.
Like the taxi driver looked like a ghoul to me.
Maybe Slimer's a ghoul all along.
Yeah,
and not a ghost.
I always laugh because I know like when you and I text each other, you're like, oh, that like you talk about like famous people, you're like such a ghoul. Like I think that word is such a great insult to me.
Rudy Giuliani. Yeah,
such a great insult.
But no, getting back on track here. I'm gonna go. So, what do you want? Scariest or
maybe scariest
or most tough?
Maybe tough. Like toughest. Let's go toughest. Because scary we can talk about separately. What's the toughest?
A werewolf's the toughest.
Like, if they're gonna get
in a physical fight, you have no shot if you're face to face with a werewolf.
Yeah,
unless you have a gun with silver bullets.
Maybe that's the way we say it. Which one could you, Badway, beat right now?
Okay. All right. Werewolf is the toughest, followed by vampires. Now, vampires, stake to the heart. It's pretty obvious, pretty easy. It can be done.
But how do you get to it? How do you get to
that's the hard part, but it's still up there. Then zombies then ghouls is next because there's no, I mean, I don't have a trap. I don't have a proton pack, right? How else do you trap a ghost? So, but like at the same time, a ghost isn't going to kill you more so than annoy you, right?
It'll annoy you and maybe possess you. So it'll take you over, I guess.
A ghoul might molest me. And that's what I'm worried about. But
yeah, but a ghost is going to, I think the ghost just wants your stuff. It's like, yo, get out of this house. I want this house. Not
It kind of it's a selfish being.
Unless it's gonna kill you. I don't know.
But that's why I kind of put it in the middle because like it's not tough, but it's impervious to most of like I don't have a science lab down in my basement. You know what I mean? To like figure out how to do this. And then zombies is next because to me, when I watch a zombie movie or I watch Walking Dead, it just seems very easy. Now, the only trick is to just not get cornered by the horde.
Yeah.
If you're one-on-one with a slow-moving zombie, it's like, come on. Like, let's just bash in the head and we're done.
What are the ones that run? That's 28 days later, right?
28 days later.
Really fast.
Yeah.
Those are tough. But
those are, I mean, if we're talking running zombies, if we're talking, headhunter zombies, then forget it.
I think more traditional, slow, clubfoot zombies is what I'm thinking.
I think a quote-unquote realistic zombie is the slow-moving zombie.
I guess we should have mentioned this is one of our Halloween episodes, so that's why we're talking about Lost Boys. But
clearly, no, it's all related. And then Mummy's like way last. All you need is like a lighter to light the end of the toilet paper on fire or its wraps.
Yeah.
Or really, I mean, if you like threw a bucket of water on a zombie, then his wraps are all wet and soggy. And then what does he do?
Falls apart, maybe?
And then does he fall apart because he's so soggy? Because is there anything underneath him? Is there a corpse?
It's like a decaying, rotting corpse.
Decaying corpse, yeah.
Wait, is a mummy just a zombie?
A mummy is a frail, feeble, old zombie. Yes.
Wow. Okay. But see, since they were wrapped, maybe they're more powerful than the zombie because they're more preserved than
the wraps
like
give them
zombie.
the powers. The wraps give them powers, absolutely.
The zombie was exposed to air and the mummy skin is preserved. So as long as it's like it's like a Ziploc bag,
But the mummy doesn't want your flesh though, is the funny part.
Yeah.
What does the mummy want?
The mummy just wants to bring his girlfriend back is what he wants to do. Like that's all this dude wants to do. Like that's it. I mean, at least that one. At least
and like the mummy happens to be like blind in some way. So like everything in person he comes across might potentially be his wife.
True. Yeah. So maybe you got to watch out from that one assaulting you. Just like the ghoul.
Yes. I should imagine the mummy because like how stiff the mummy is. He's going to be like humping you like a dog.
Rigor mortis.
Yeah, like a dog would. Just
what
like
else is stiff?
Thrusting, but also like stiff as a board. Like his body, not other areas. Let's move on.
Oh man. Well, okay, so let's talk about vampires more because this is the Lost Boys and we're talking about vampires. This is our first vampire movie that we're doing. What other vampire movies are out there? And as a non-nostalgic viewer of this movie, where does this rank with some of the other ones that you've watched? So we're talking stuff like Interview with the Vampire, so on and so forth. Like, what other ones do you hold up there in terms of vampire movies? I'm going to call you the vampire expert because I'm not.
It's definitely up there because I feel like most vampire movies tend to be more. I mean, this is a slow moving movie, but I feel like it held my attention the entire way. Whereas a lot of vampire movies are very slow moving. You think about Twilight, Interview with the Vampire, Bram Stoker's Dracula, the '90s one. I'm thinking of really more than anything. Very slow moving, very character driven. You almost make you feel bad for the vampire in certain areas. Telling their story, very romantic, like in not as in like a love story sense, but in like a story old as time type of sense. Yeah, I like the pace of this one compared to some of the classics or some of the larger ones. There's more action oriented ones like I'm sure you love the Blade series.
Yeah.
Fright Night is a real favorite of mine, especially the remake. I know people love the original, but the remake with Colin Farrell, very good horror action
I've
movie.
never seen that.
Also very funny as well. Are there any that stands out to you?
I like 30 Days of Night. That's one that I remember watching that, and the concept of it was cool because they were vampires, right? That was vampires in there, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
And I liked that because of the whole, hey, it's a month of darkness. And I thought
they're in Alaska or something.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool concept. And that was Josh Hartnett and when he was sort of up and coming. And I liked that movie a lot. And I remember watching the Underworld series with you and our friend, Julio, listener and friend of the podcast. I like that series, even though it's so 2000s. Like that movie... And that's the new metal of vampire movies. We talk about that. That's a very new metal movie.
It's a new metal movie.
It's absolutely. And then you had like the fight between the werewolves and all that stuff. But another one that I really like was Vampire's Kiss, starring our friend Nicolas Cage.
Of course.
All-star Nicolas Cage there. I like that movie a lot where he's slowly turning into the vampire. What is he or not? Like I thought that was a really fun one. I remember watching that with you back in the day and I love that one.
And that movie's meme to death, but it is honest to goodness a really good movie. And
he's
worthy of a watch, and he's really good in it. A little overacting as he was, in his early days. And maybe now. But yeah, honest to goodness good movie. It's not just a meme. What are your thoughts on Morbius? I know I haven't seen it. I doubt you have, right?
Hey man, it's Morbin time.
But but does it have? Do you have any interest in seeing this movie with the meme factor of it and like just in order to like watch the train wreck kind of thing?
If I didn't have to pay for it, sure, because I know time's limited these days, but I'm intrigued by it because of the meme factor. I've heard some people say it's a meme-ish movie, but then I've heard other people say it's actually not that bad at all and it's kind of entertaining. I'd be curious about it, put it that way.
Yeah.
I do want to check it out, but I've not seen it yet. Are you planning to watch it?
No, I'll probably never see it in my life.
It's on Netflix, right?
Yeah, forget that. I have too many other things to watch.
Forget it.
I believe with your wife, then not your wife, then your girlfriend, the last girlfriend, not the literally
literally the last girlfriend.
I believe we watched the first two Twilights together.
We did.
I was in on the first one. And I couldn't be more out in the middle of the second one. I was done. I was done with the series in the middle of the second one.
There's a lot of allusions to 50 Shades of Grey as well with that. I know literally, I think that story was written off of Twilight fan fiction or something, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But I felt the same way. Like we keep talking about completing the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy. I can't believe we've never done Twilight on the show because it's the kind of movie that we would do.
But it's been done. That's the problem.
I know. What could we say about it that hasn't already been said?
But I honestly enjoyed the first one. It was.
I didn't think it was that bad.
It was ridiculous and it was crazy, but I did like it. But like, no, I was done. I don't need I don't need the 5 other sequels. I'm done with it.
You don't need to know about the baby that they were having and whatever else was going on. Don't care.
Give me the high school drama and then leave me alone.
Carlisle Cullen.
Give me the baseball scene. I like it, and we're done with it.
Vampires playing baseball is something that I didn't know that I needed in my life.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, who knew?
Well, let's talk a little bit about vampires again. Let's talk about turning into a vampire because this movie centers around Michael turning into a vampire. I'm going to call you. I said it before. I'm going to call you the vampire expert. So I don't know the rules of turning into a vampire. Just like you are an expert at legal services and you are a hell of a lawyer. If you haven't checked out Badway's defense of Terry Silver, go check out the last Kencast that we did. Put a link in the show notes. Check it out. But you're also a vampire expert. And
I mean,
I think you need to help us out here.
I don't have detailed files like the Terminator, but I've spreaded wildfires files. I'm no John Harker, but I get the job done.
What do you think about turning into a vampire? And like, was the method in this movie accurate? Because they made him drink from a bottle, right? What was in that?
Oh, there was blood in that bottle, baby.
Was it
blood
wine?
in that bottle? Oh no, that's what they led you to believe. So you turn into a vampire. The classic way you do it is you drink from the source of another vampire that can turn you into a vampire. So typically what you would do is you'd have Kiefer Sutherland cut his hand open or his wrist or something like that, something to get the blood pumping. And then he would feed himself to Michael, to me or Michael or whoever he wanted to become a vampire. Yes. I believe it's painful and also euphoric to the vampire, to the person getting sucked.
Yeah.
So
so there's sucking involved.
There's sucking and there's euphoria involved. So when Michael takes the drink from the wrist or the hand or whatever, could be the neck, but then he's not going to do the neck because that's not controllable. That's not a controllable wound.
You might kill yourself.
You're going to bleed out.
It's like spurting out everywhere.
Even though he'll self-heal, it's fine. He's a vampire, he self-heals.
Just imagining like someone spurting blood.
So yeah, you drink the blood of another vampire, turns you into a vampire. That's how it goes. It's not bite, turn into vampire. That's the childish way to turn into a vampire.
That's the old man way?
Like that's the unrealistic way to turn into a vampire.
Boris Karloff style of vampire. See, that's what I always thought. I thought it was bite the neck.
If you're biting a person as a vampire, you intend to kill them. You intend to kill them.
Yeah, I'm imagining like what you said, somebody holding a knife and then like just pulling it and then squeezing their hand over somebody's mouth and then them just drinking it.
Yeah. There's also, I believe, I forget which movies might go by this rule of biting and then having them drink your own blood. That might be a thing in some movies, but typically it's just drink this blood here. Here you go.
So they gave him a bottle of blood to drink, and because where I was having trouble was they showed him the noodles and it was worms, and they showed him the rice and it was maggots. And that was something that Kiefer was doing to him like as an illusion. So and he didn't even think it was blood. So blood, I mean, you ever have a nosebleed or you bit your lip or something? Like blood is a pretty strong taste. He was sucking from that bottle, man.
Thick, it would be like drinking, it's like thicker than milk. You know?
Like
I don't know. But at the same time, remember he handed Michael the joint. And we don't know what was in that joint.
That's true.
To make his brain all funky. So
the first part of becoming a vampire is getting ridiculously high and then
get
drinking.
High. Yeah. Get high, turn into a vampire. Yes. Marijuana is a gateway drug to vampirism.
It's a vampiric activities.
Is it vampirism or vampiredom?
Vampirism, I think.
I like vampiredom.
Is that on WebMD? Like I'm suffering from vampirism.
Yeah, he got sucked into vampiredom.
So you said it's like a painful process. Like what happens to you then as this happens? Is it instant? Is it I
feel like you're slowly turning, and maybe it's like your organs like rejecting the poison blood that you just consumed.
Well, in the rules of this movie, so they had him in the cave. He was in that awesome sweet hangout, which we'll talk about potentially on the villain scale here. He was hanging out in that place, drinking from the bottle and all that stuff, and then he started to become like hungry, and he was like floating on the ceiling in his house then, and just he was hungry for his brother, and then he also was translucent in a mirror as opposed to sparkly like Edward Cullen.
Yeah, no sparkles. What's up with that?
Like, did he? And I think they even said it at one point, right? Jamie Gertz said that he was going to be her mark. And he had to complete a kill, right? He had to actually feed to then fully transform. So I assume that the rest of the Lost Boys had fully transformed because they killed people.
And and I think the way it goes was, he was supposed to be her kill, but then I think Kiefer saw something in him to keep him alive, and like, oh, we could be one of us. And then the whole story about Kiefer's dad and wanting to become a family got tacked on at the end. And somewhere in the middle of the movie that played into it as well, as it turned in not Star killing him into turning him into one of them.
Well, let me ask you. I wasn't sure if he had a choice in this whole matter. It seemed like at the first point he was a willing, it was almost like a consensual vampire turn.
He didn't know. He didn't know.
It was weird. I couldn't tell. So I guess he didn't know. But if you knew and you were hanging out with them, would you do it? Would you become a vampire? Like, what are the pros and cons of being a vampire? Would you do it?
So first of all, I don't particularly enjoy the daylight. So that's like very convenient for me to live a life of a vampire. Test right now. It gives me an excuse to not go out during the day, right? I like to like draw the curtains. I don't keep lights on in my house, when it's night, when it's daytime, and kind of when it's nighttime. I keep the lights off, very dim. I'm a dim light guy. A dim light guy.
I am too.
So that's convenient for me. Living forever, that's like a curse more than a gift. I feel like right around year 130, you're like, come on, all right, let's go. Put a stake in me.
Can we be done with this?
Yeah. Can someone please put a stake in me? Can a vampire stake themselves?
That's what I was going to ask you. Can you stake themselves?
I bet. Yeah. I bet there's like an internal rejection of it where like you physically can't do it.
But what if he jumped off a cliff onto a stake? Like he wasn't like doing this. But he tripped. Oh, shoot! I tripped and I accidentally killed myself. I staked myself.
But you can fly though, so it's like the flying thing will probably take over on autopilot.
Yeah, so your body just keeps you afloat. But what if it was truly like you tripped, and fell?
Is there such a thing as a klutz vampire?
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
Yeah. Alex Vincent seemed like a klutz vampire. I'm sure he's tripped a few times in his day.
Couple
close calls on some spikes. Oh, that was a close one. No, but that's a con. The murdering of people, that's a con.
Do you have to? You have to feed, right? Like you have to.
So there's more vampire lore. I mean, there's lore in which you can drink the blood of animals, but the taste is very, I don't know if sour is the right word.
Like
but
drinking bad milk?
Yeah, just it's not right. It just tastes disgusting, but it might keep you alive.
Like you could learn to like it. Like I don't to eat certain vegetables, but I know they're good for me. So
you don't learn to like it. The more you feed on an animal, the more thirsty you become for the human meat, the human blood.
So it's like it's like a curse in itself in that too.
You know when you're stranded in the ocean, like you remember when you're stranded in the ocean, and you're thirsty.
When I was on that life raft.
Yeah. So you're thirsty, and you think drinking the salt water is a good idea. When in actuality, it makes you more thirsty. That's what drinking rat blood would be the equivalent of. It just makes you want the human blood so much more. The urge just rises.
But so the thing is, when they're doing the feeding, they were like ripping people in half. Was it so that they could drink the blood, or were they just literally eating them?
No, I think they were drinking, but I think it was more of a like they're having fun with it.
Yeah.
I think they really took a liking to the murder, which could be a side effect of the vampiredom, right?
Yeah.
Learning to love murder, just like learning to love the taste of blood. Whereas the taste of blood, it's not only fulfilling, but it's also, again, orgasmic. You're
killing people for hundreds of years. Might as well have fun with it after a while.
Yeah, you might as well sauce it up a bit. So it's weird because a lot of these cons might turn out to be pros once you are one.
That's true.
But I think the biggest con is living forever because I feel like that is not a thing that anybody really wants if you think about it.
I'm going to say the biggest con to me is flying and hanging off of train bridges is what I want to do. That looked like a lot of fun to me.
Flying, Michael, is a great pro. Yeah.
Right, Michael? I mean, come on, Michael.
Yeah. Con,
hang on this bridge.
Con is you don't get to, you got to be careful around your Italian foods because I love garlic. And so like I can't have garlic nuts anymore. Are you joking?
But it didn't apply to these guys. They were garlic impervious.
Garlic is always like a tricky rule when it comes to vampires. It works sometimes and it has no effect other times. But they always introduce it as a possible thing.
Yeah.
A lot of movies will introduce the garlic and the vampire will laugh and like knock it away. Like, it doesn't bother me.
But what about the fact that you can't come to somebody's house unless you're invited in? Like, what about that?
That's true. But that's like, I do that anyway. Like, I'm not going to show up uninvited anywhere.
But I mean, I guess that's courtesy. True. I guess that's true.
Vampires are very courteous people.
So what's the role? What's the rule of being invited? Is it, hey, Badway, would you like to come inside of my house? Or is it like, you came over and I was like, you just came in because do I have to physically ask you? Otherwise you're going to burn and disappear?
No, yeah, the vampire has to ask you a direct question and you have to let them in. Like, yes, come on in. Like, I feel like it doesn't work if you give me like a standing invitation, like, oh, hey, you should come over sometime. That is not an open invitation for the vampire to come in your house
so they're going to
vampire
burn
shit
and disappear.
I don't even know not burn and disappear, but it will make them impervious. The invitation makes them impervious to the attacks. Besides taking the heart.
So if they dump holy water on you, then or throw you in a bathtub of holy water, you're gonna disappear. You're gonna burn. But if Max was invited and they dumped him in that holy water, he would have been fine.
Yeah, like and no, the water they threw was holy water. Like it was. Yeah. So like they had all the tests there for the guy, but since he was invited in and they didn't know that the invitation nixes that other crap, so it was a good like throw them off the set kind of thing.
I like the idea of a vampire test. I like it.
Yeah, but the invitation is a great cheat code for vampires to get in and not be affected.
Who invented that cheat code? I don't know. It's kind of a BS rule, in my opinion.
Bram Stoker? I don't know.
Yeah. So if I handed you this bottle and I said, drink this, and you knew what it was, would you take it or not? Final question. Something
about me is that anytime anyone hands me a drink or a food, I will inspect it to no end. Not that I don't trust you, is that like, I'm a very plain tasting guy. So I'm going to be like, you know what, Drew, that kind of looks like blood. I don't know if I want to drink that. Trust me, it's good. I don't know.
What if you knew what it was and I offered you the chance to become a vampire? Would you do it?
Yeah. So yeah, I would decline politely. I don't know if that's like a lot. If you if you decline becoming a vampire in front of a vampire, they're just going to eat you, right?
I guess that's true. It's either
you have no choice.
Do this or die.
You think you have a choice. You have no choice. But say the vampire like offers you safety, yes or no, then I would say no.
See, I have a problem saying no to people in general in the world. Like I just do things because I feel like I need to a lot of times. And if someone's like, "Hey, drink this," I feel like I'm probably just going to do it because it's like I don't want to disappoint them.
Can I poke a hole in your argument?
Yeah.
Because so you're a people pleaser, right? So you don't want to disappoint Kiefer when he's offering you to become a vampire. That's a great gift, right?
Exactly.
But think about all the people you're not pleasing when you're eating them.
That's true. That is true.
You're disappointing. You're in the moment. You're disappointing one man versus the potential thousands of victims that you will eventually feast on.
So the curse is I don't disappoint one man in the moment to disappoint people for a lifetime. Yeah. So it's even more of the curse of living forever.
Yeah. So you're Tiny Lister on the boat in Dark Knight, right?
Yeah. Give it to me.
Yeah. You know, you could not push the button and kind of, save your boat. But in turn, you're dooming hundreds or thousands of others.
I'm probably dooming a lot of people here.
But in the boat, but in the boat, you're like, I don't want to disappoint. I just don't want to disappoint this cop.
Well, let's talk about the town of Santa Clara because I feel like this place, they purposefully made it like a nice. I'm going to coin this, right? It was a nice dump. It was kind of a nice dump. And I like the word dump, by the way. I think it's a good word because it describes this place. Like, it had graffiti everywhere, but then it had this cool looking boardwalk. It had these nice stores, but then it had all these vagrant looking, like shady people hanging around. And then it had cool stuff to do on the beach, but then it had some weird looking places on the beach. Like, what is this place? Like, I don't get it.
You should trademark that. That is awesome. It's a nice dump. That's exactly what it is. And it's not, our hometown might be considered a nice dump.
It could be. It could be. It looks kind of similar.
Yeah.
Minus the beach and the boardwalk.
I love it. No, I personally would not like to live here. I would like to live on the beach. Don't get me wrong. But I don't want to live in a city where it's like main attraction is a boardwalk, To me, that's more reserved for I would rather be a tourist of that. Other people may love that. And I have nothing personal against them who want to live there, but me personally, I'm not a boardwalk guy. I'm a visit the boardwalk once every, year or longer type of guy.
I like walking the boardwalk every once in a while, like you. But then I also would get tired of the touristy aspect of it. Or if you live there, it's like you're dealing with tourists. Like I don't want to live in a tourist area personally.
Yeah, exactly.
I just feel like I would be annoyed.
Yeah, that's exactly. I want to be the tourist. I don't want to be the townie.
Yeah,
right?
I want to annoy people, not have them annoy me.
Right.
That's what I want.
So, but like the setting of this movie is, I think it's very purposefully done to make it look like, it's like it's a place where you could be a kid, right? Amusement park, games, comic book store, video store. You're on the beach, teens everywhere, right? That kind of thing. This movie, I believe Joel Schumacher said, was originally written to be more Peter Pan-like, in like a Neverland kind of thing, where you don't want to grow up. You know, these vampire teens are these sexy vampire teens are, you know, they're kind of like living that undead life as kind of like a joy, right? And the setting of the town kind of leads into that. They're always going to be teens. They're always going to be playing at the boardwalk when they're not killing people, going on the rides. There's always going to be fresh new teen victims or teen recruits. It was actually more childlike in the writing, but Schumacher said he didn't want it to be like a Goonies vampire situation. So they kind of rewrote it a little bit more skewed adult and more drama.
I think that's for the better.
Yeah,
I think it's for the better.
But I think that the setting is like that's a vital part of the movie, of it being more of a Neverland situation. Like you're constantly living in a carnival, that kind of thing.
I liked that too, and especially when they showed the carousel and Kiefer and them hanging out on the carousel, and you know the name, the Lost Boys. It's right a little bit on the nose there.
Sure.
But I do think that the setting made a lot of sense, and like I actually like that grandpa's house. I don't know why. I just like that place. Like it was a weird, like ranch looking.
Yeah,
it's the kind of place you would think about in Northern California. I feel like you see those kind of places.
How do you feel about taxidermy?
I'm not into that.
Does it creep you out? Or
it does. It creeps me out a little bit. And I've been in places where they've had taxidermy animals. Like, okay, you go to like an environmental center, that's different because they're teaching you about that.
Sure.
But just like Corey Haim was sitting there staring at, was it like a beaver or something?
Like a beaver.
At him?
Yeah, it was a beaver.
I don't want a beaver on my
I couldn't have that.
nightside table staring at me.
Yeah. Do you think it's immoral, or are you just creeped out by it?
I think if you're, well, I don't know.
Like the act of stuffing a deaf animal, a deaf animal.
If I'm gonna go kill it just to stuff it, then maybe it's not for me. But if somebody is a hunter or something like that, and that's what they're into, like more power to you. But for me, like I'm just not into that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's odd to do like a pet. You know.
Yes.
Like you say you have like, you know, a childhood dog, he's 20 years old and he passes away. To get the dog stuffed, that would creep me out.
I don't
if
like
that were
it.
my pet, right?
Dude, Pet Cemetery.
Yeah, exactly. And most small animals, I feel I don't like it, right? But if you have a bear in your living room, that's standing on twos, roar, that's an animal you can stuff and I can get behind.
I know what I'm getting you for Christmas, man.
Give me the stuffed bear. Yes.
It would be pretty sweet having a giant bear, and that's like a perfect thing in this guy's house, like a cabin. Like I think if you have a bear in a cabin, that's pretty cool.
You either have to have a cabin or you have to have like a mansion, just like the dude from Roadhouse.
Yeah.
There's a bear in his foyer.
Brad Wesley.
Like, perfect.
Wesley.
Yeah.
What do you think about boardwalk rides? Because all I could think about was when they're on these things, I'm like, I ain't getting on that thing, man.
Hell yeah.
I like theme park rides. But I'm thinking, is that thing safe? Did they inspect that thing?
Yeah. Carnival rides versus like Six Flags. I don't know why I feel different about them, but I'd rather not go on the Carnival roller coaster because I don't know who the hell put that thing together. Who's the engineer of this thing? Who tightened all these bolts? And can they be reliable? I'm no thank you.
Did they test that thing?
Yeah. Did they test that thing? What's going on here? Like, and I like thrill rides. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not getting on a roller coaster at the boardwalk. Just saying.
I totally agree with you. I'm not into some of those things, especially look like it's going to fall off the tracks. No thanks.
Yeah. No thanks.
The other thing, I just need to say this because I don't know where it goes, but I don't know. Maybe it's more under the gang, but everyone riding dirt bikes in this town, like. I'm gonna hot take this here. I think dirt bikes on a dirt bike track are cool, and I think that's fine. You're racing dirt bikes, that's cool. But if you're like John Connor riding the dirt bike on the street, like you look lame. I'm sorry. Get a motorcycle
on the streets of Los Angeles.
Yeah. Get a Harley here. I mean, get like or whatever, right? Like just a
John
motorcycle.
Connor's 15.
get a real motorcycle, man.
Is it fair to say that dirt bike is like the training wheels of motorcycles?
I'm not. So I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not a biker, so I have no clue. But yes, that's what I.
You see, I think the town of Santa Carla is perfect for dirt bikes because you got the beach. I think it's a great beach ride. It's great to maneuver around the boardwalk as well. Yeah. You can't just have a Harley on the boardwalk.
I guess you get Harley on the sand, like
and also a vampire does not look badass on a bicycle, on a on a pedal bicycle. So you got to have motors.
But
right?
wouldn't they look so awesome? I'm talking like a really think of Sons of Anarchy, like those kind of bikes.
Yeah.
Like they would look badass as like a biker gang.
Again, this is like a Neverland situation.
True.
You're talking about a different movie. If there is a group of teen vampires roaming around and it's not this town, if it's a more urban town, then yes, I totally agree. They should be a biker gang.
Like Redwood.
Yeah. They should definitely be Sons of Anarchy originals.
Hanging out with Darby's crew, riding around. That's
the Mayans can be a motorcycle gang and a vampire gang. They can be both. In fact, it would be pretty badass if they had cuts, right? The vampires had cuts.
What would the picture be? I mean, imagine what that would be. It would be awesome.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine. I mean, drips of blood, maybe upside down cross. I don't
Sergeant
know how it
at
works.
arms, all this. Yeah. I think it would be
pentagram,
awesome.
Do vampires and pentagrams go together, or is that a different thing?
I think that's probably demons. Maybe we didn't even talk about demons earlier.
Is a vampire a demon?
I don't think
it might
so,
be.
but it could be. Are they demonic? Like what's
maybe.
possessing them?
I don't know.
I think Underworld, wasn't it like a sickness? It was like a literal mutagen or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe demon. Demons maybe more a spirit in line with like a ghoul and a ghost. So I don't know.
Yeah. But to wrap it up, I'm not as anti dirt bike as you are, but I think the town or setting you live in dictates whether or not it's acceptable. Like I think in this town, I think yes.
I've seen people riding dirt bikes on like the highway. Like no.
Get out of here, John Connor.
Yes, I don't think that you should do that.
Stealing people's ATM money. Get out of here.
If that's your only method of transportation, then all right, I'll give it to you. But
if John Connor didn't have a dirt bike, though, he'd have been dead by the T1000 in an instant. So
he'd be dead in an
instant. Thankfully, he had that dirt bike. He was able to outrun the tractor trailer.
Prime example of dead in an instant.
Yeah.
So you know who had it? He had sort of like the weaker looking dirt bike was Michael himself. Michael.
Yeah. Because he wasn't one of them. He wasn't one of them.
And he even said like he wasn't even going to keep up with them with his dirt bike.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you think of the character of Michael? And maybe we should just talk more about the relationship between him and Corey Haim, Sam.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he did a really good job. I don't know.
I liked him a lot.
I don't know how he didn't flow further into the mainstream. As you know, he had a good career. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, when you're starring in Speed 2, you're of a certain, standing within Hollywood, aren't you?
But do you think that Speed 2, they thought it was going to be something or no?
I think they knew that that was just, they're trying to scrape up the pennies of what's left from the success of Speed 1.
I mean, when you got a colon like Cruise Control.
Yeah, I mean.
What are you going to do?
One of the all-time colons.
I agree with you, though, but maybe it was more of a didn't want to instead of couldn't. Maybe he chose his roles differently.
Maybe he chose his roles a certain way, yeah.
I don't know.
But as far as for this movie, he fit in perfectly with the look, the aesthetic of...
Oh, he was great.
Yeah, with his, his messy, long hair. He fit in with the vampire crew. So I think he was perfectly cast. I bet he was cast more for his looks than his acting ability, like from the onset. He can also act.
Yeah.
But I feel like he had the look first, and they're like, yeah, we need this kid.
I thought his acting was probably some of the best in the movie, to be completely honest, because of the way he was battling like the turning into the vampire and trying not to kill his brother and struggling with, the whole turn. I just thought that was cool. I thought he did a good job. I really liked him in this. It actually does make me want to watch some of his other films.
Yeah, and it's not just his lines, it's obviously his body mannerisms, his physical pain of like the anguish he's going through. I'm turning. I crave it. Like without saying it, his body language was perfect.
I think that's a good way to put it. What about Corey Haim? Because I just going to call him a man-child in this. He was literally 18 years old, I believe, when he filmed this. Yeah,
he definitely looked older than the role he was playing. That's for sure. At the same time, I wouldn't have pegged him at 18.
I think he was 18, I believe.
He's a younger looking 18, but yeah, he was 18 when shooting this.
What did you think? Like, how old was he supposed to be in this? Because like his mom was telling him lights out, like he was needed a babysitter. Like
she babied him big time, and maybe that's some remnants of the divorce. I don't know. Maybe it's a character thing. or I thought he was supposed to be like 10 or 12 based on the way the mom treated him, right? And the way he took a bath, obviously.
The bath scene.
We both had the same reaction to the bath scene. Yeah.
Dude, let me tell you, like recently my shower was broken for a minute and I had to use a bathtub. And if you guys have seen me on any of the streams and stuff, like my hair is pretty long right now. Let me tell you what a pain in the ass it is trying to take a bath. Like, no, I've got it fixed. Thank God. But man.
Do you have bubbles?
No, I just,
no bubbles.
I actually just had my head under the faucet. Like,
no, this is so dumb. And this is probably no one else thinks about this kind of thing. So when you're in the shower and someone like pulls the curtain on you, if someone were to pull the curtain on you, like you're naked, you're standing there naked, you're like, I'm naked, whatever, right? If you're in a bathtub and someone busts in on the door, right? And they can just see your naked balls and schlong, like it's submerged in water with no bubbles. That's to me more pathetic than
you're laying there.
That's more vulnerable than if someone walks in on you in the shower. Right?
Well, Danny Glover. I mean, you know,
he didn't have as many bubbles. He had some bubbles, not a ton though.
Schlong were hanging out for his whole family.
Like that's more vulnerable. Like, come on, I'm covered up. Yeah.
No, it definitely is.
I feel like I'd rather be caught on the toilet than be caught in the bathtub with no bubbles. If you have bubbles, it's fine because you're covered.
Like when the T-Rex gets you in Jurassic Park and you're taking a dump. You know,
I'd rather be caught taking a dump than caught being in a bath without bubbles.
So if you have bubbles, you're good.
Tweet us at thelastropod.com. Would you rather?
Let us know. What would you rather do? Be walked in on taking a shower or a bath?
Yeah. If you can take anything from the Lost Boys, it's would you rather?
This is like when people ask like, what is your podcast about? It's really hard to tell, but you know, the thing that I'm going to tell them next time is we talk about would you rather be walked in on taking a shower or a bath? That's the kind of stuff that it's a hard hitting analysis that you get.
Have you ever seen a movie where a character takes 2 dumps?
Yeah,
that's only on the last row will you find out.
That's what we do. Do you have anything else to say about Corey Haim? I don't know. I haven't seen him in a lot of movies. I'm not like a Corey Haim historian.
I just have a general question about vampires. That's the theme of the show. Really, is about the generality of vampires. What would you like if your brother was a vampire? What would you do about it? Like, would you help him? Would you run away from him? Would you tell your mom right away? Like, what would you do? Like, and you were like these kids' age, right?
I think I would try to help him, but I don't know whether I would tell like if I was his age, man, it's tough. Like, I think I would try to help him. Mm-hmm. I thought he handled it pretty well, to be honest. Like he was about to get eaten and he didn't try to fight his brother. He kept the Frog Brothers from killing his brother, which was good. It was noble.
Yeah. He's pretty level-headed about it. I'll probably do whatever I could to protect it. But in the long run, like without the intervention of killing these vampires, the brother would eventually be dead, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like eventually he would be bitten and all that. Would you rather bite your brother or would you rather turn your brother into a vampire? If you were the vampire.
I think you got to turn him because
that's like the only other way to save him. But in saving him, you're dooming him for eternity.
But you're together in eternity. You're both doomed. So you're dooming each other.
Yeah, but it's like if I can't have it, nobody can. You know, like if I got to die, you're coming with me. That kind of thing.
But
suicide by vampire.
That's true. But it's not suicide because you're living forever. That means you just get to look if you're good friends. If
eternal damnation by vampire.
Or eternal friendship.
Yeah, if you're like really good, if you're really close, then it's probably a great thing. It's
great. Think about all the video games you could play. Like
man,
like whatever you could be playing the PlayStation 20. Like
PlayStation
at that
20,
point.
Absolutely. That's a great way to think of it. Yeah, you have a friend for life. You have a friend for life.
If humanity doesn't like disappear into the butt crack of the earth here, like whatever. But imagine that you play video games, you can watch whatever movie, you can watch like the 80th Avengers movie that comes out in like 100 years. Like, I don't know.
That's really sweet. That's really sweet. I like that.
You know, I mean, if I was a vampire, I'd probably, I don't know, I wouldn't want to eternally damn you, but I'd want you to be around.
I definitely wouldn't want to like kill my brother by drinking his blood. That's for sure. I would do everything in my power to not have that happen, even if I was like dying of thirst myself.
The Frog Brothers, like, is it murder if you hire a hit? Like, he's still dead, but maybe you're saving him because maybe...
I think you have to. It's like, I can't do it for me.
Yeah, you got Corey Feldman in them.
It's like the classic movie scene where it's like you point the gun to the wife or the husband. It's like, you're about to shoot him, and then like you just drop the gun. I can't do it, and then like the second character comes in and does it for you.
Yeah, because if you're gonna hire somebody, like you got to hire somebody that knows what the hell they're doing.
Yeah,
and it certainly seemed like the Frog Brothers knew what they were doing. But was that their first go around this whole thing? Like they had the comic books, but like, did they actually do this before?
They made it seem like they were experts, but I don't think they did. I think that was their first time, honestly. What did you think of Corey Feldman's accent? Or like his, he kind of talked like Rambo.
It was like a super deep voice, right?
Yeah. Like I got Rambo vibes from him.
I kind of liked it. I liked the headband too. I kind of liked it.
At first, I thought he was acting strangely, but as the more scenes of him went on, I was like, okay, this is a choice, and it's actually kind of funny. So
Yeah.
I like grew into it. Yeah.
I saw something too that he was on like a coke bender or something
During
the filming,
this?
during the movie, and Schumacher fired him, and then he hired him back when he basically was like, no, I'll keep my shit together, and
Hang on.
Yeah, there was a thing where he was addicted to drugs at that time, and he was like coke fueled, like
1971. He was 16. He was coke fueled 16-year-old.
it was bad. It was
Wow.
bad. So they fired him from the movie, and then they hired him back, and he kept him. But I saw Schumacher like wanted him out of there.
He's the reason why child actors have a bad name. Like
I know
the term child actor is a bad connotation.
But
It's because of him and the other Corey, right?
But he went through some bad stuff, right? Wasn't he like assaulted and all that stuff? There was like a whole thing about what.
You know what? I never like dove into it. I'm sure he has a sad story.
There's a lot of stuff. He's got like a really there is a sad story there, like of all the stuff that happened. But I think that's why a lot of that happened, because he went with the drugs and all that other stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, but there was that story about him on coke in this and whatnot. But I wasn't sure whether these guys had experience in this or not. They certainly knew what they were talking about.
Yeah,
but
they had knowledge. Yeah,
they easily killed Alex Winter, but look, anyone that goes into that vampire cave, like, that David's the alpha. You can see it.
Yeah,
like,
look, choosing Alex first. Come on.
Come on. They went for the weakest looking one, and that's not to take anything away from Alex Winter here.
No, I'm taking away. I'm taking a little bit from him.
David was clearly the alpha. You could tell, like the mullet and everything. Like he was obviously the alpha. Take him out.
Do you think that so they've been researching this for a while? They've lived in this town. They kind of know what's going on, right? They had an idea. Were they waiting for like their third member?
I think so. They needed somebody
in order to take action, and it just so happened this kid coming in knew from out of town his brother's turning, so this is like the perfect opportunity to get deep in this thing.
It seemed like it. They were scoping him out at the comic book store. It looked like they were looking to recruit. I mean, they gave him the book and like, you got to watch this, man. Read this book.
Yeah. I think they wanted or needed a third person.
With David being the alpha, I guess we have to villain scale him, or should we villain scale Max? And what did you think of that twist?
I'm not doing this. We talked about this a few episodes ago. I forget which movie it was. Where we're not doing this. Like we're not going to do Death when we do Final Destination. We're not going to do Max.
I agree.
Because when you show up at the end of the movie with 5 minutes to go and you reveal yourself as the villain, I'm not going to count that, because the whole movie we've been chasing David. So if we're going to scale anybody, we got to scale David.
I agree with that, and I think when it comes to this movie, I'm going to say that David's actually the head vampire anyway, because he didn't explode, he didn't disappear, and Max to me was, I don't know, I just think he was lame. I didn't like him, and I like the twist was cool, and you could see it coming. But I didn't think that he was the bad guy. So I think we need to villain scale David here.
Sure.
So if you're new to the show or you never listened to it, we have our patented last row villain scale. We got 4 major categories, 1 to 5 each: look or style, hideout or lair, plan, and henchman. And we'll have to see where David falls on this. So let's talk about his look and style, Badway. I think he's going to get some high marks on this
5
from my side.
5.
Yeah, it's hands down, right? Like it's not even close.
His mullet is what many of us rate other mullets on, right?
I agree. That and Van Damme from Hard Target.
Van Damme, Hard Target, and we talk about like maybe David Bowie from Labyrinth.
Yeah.
This is a Mount Rushmore mullet.
Oh,
so anytime you have that, you got a 5 going. Plus, his duster, his earrings. I mean, he's oozing style.
What do you think of? And I don't know where this goes, but maybe under look and style we can talk about this. Like, we're obviously Kiefer Sutherland fans. In another life, we had a podcast called The Bauer Hour, BauerHour.com. Go check it out. We did some 24 stuff. Like his look or style, just Kiefer Sutherland in general. Like, I don't want to we can't talk about this movie and just sort of gloss over him. So we got to talk about him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think like just his acting and all that stuff sort of fits under here. Like he was awesome. I loved him in this movie. I thought he was great.
And it starts with his voice. His voice kind of carried the movie for me as far as like the threat. He has that raspy bad guy voice to begin with, or just him speaking alone to me felt like a threat. And that kind of set the stage for the rest of his character.
Michael. Hello, Michael.
Very inviting, but also sinister. It's perfect.
I agree. And I thought he was awesome. And like you said, the look and style was just off the charts. Easily a 5. And Kiefer's great. Like he was just awesome in this. He's got that smoker's rasp. It's like 8 packs a day.
Yeah.
What about the hideout and lair here? So you could go one of two ways. I'm curious what you think with this.
I liked it. It kind of reminded me of like a cave. It used to be the hottest hotel in town in the 08 or whatever the hell it was, 1908. I'm a fan, so I'm ready for high marks. I don't know what do you agree or disagree?
Definitely agree. Yeah. Definitely.
Like, I would hang out there.
This is one of the coolest hideouts or layers that we've had on the show, and I think it's great.
And here's the thing. I mean, we go hideout lair, right? A lot of the times it's either like a place of business or a mansion or something like that. This is the definition of a hideout.
Yeah.
They are hiding out in this place. It's in a little hole. It's a little hole underground on the side of a cliff. It is a hideout. They are hiding out.
Yes.
In this place.
And then they even have a hideout inside the hideout. Or they have a layer in the hideout.
They have a layer in the hideout. This might be a 5.
This man, look, and if you just want some comparisons here, like, do you want to know what other 5s we've given for a hideout layer?
Yeah.
So we've given
M. Bison?
No. So with M. Bison, actually, yes. No, we gave him a 375. I don't know how. But we gave
it's because the props department screwed it up.
That's right.
That's why.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Because some of the stuff was very cheap looking.
Go back and listen to our Street Fighter episode. We checked that out. No, we gave the volcano from Dante's Peak a 5. We gave Catherine Trammell's swanky houses a 5.
On the beachfront property.
Superstorm from Day After Tomorrow. And we gave Jerry Jones a 5 too, because he has AT&T Stadium. But it's got to be a 5, right? Like, it's a 5. Hands down. It's so good.
I would love to hang out there.
What about his plan? Because I think it's pretty good, but the execution is where maybe we get flaws.
Are we talking about the plan of specifically turning David or turning Michael?
Yeah, maybe we should, because that's what his plan is here. But he does have a plan for domination of just like turning the world, right?
Well, go ahead, lay it out for me. If you want high scores, please lay it out.
I think he wants to turn Michael, but if you want to consider Max as the bad guy, then you could say he's only turning Michael because Max wanted to bang his mom, basically, right?
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. But
which is a pretty lame plan.
Let's forget that.
But he is terrorizing the town. He's going out, riding his dirt bike, messing with people. He's going out there, hanging out on amusement parks and all this stuff. But he's killing people, and they seem like, I don't know if they were like punk guys or whatever, but he's killing innocent people. It seems as if he wants to become more powerful as a vampire and maybe even ultimately overtake Max, is what I'm sort of thinking. So I don't know. It seems like he's trying to live forever, but he's just hanging out. So it's not really organized.
I mean, Neverland. I mean, you never grow up, right? My issue with your plan of a possible takeover of Max. How do you take over the head vampire? Because theoretically, if you kill the head vampire, you're dead too.
But if you die, maybe you become the head vampire because
maybe there's a vampire subset to the rules. If a vampire kills the head vampire, that in turn makes you head vampire.
It's the laws of succession here.
Yeah, I like that.
So yeah, like if someone else, if he kills the head vampire, he becomes the head vampire. But if a human kills the head vampire, like a non-vampire kills the head vampire, then they die. And I feel like, let's say David did it, the other Lost Boys would still stay vampires because
here it is. If you kill the head vampire and then drink his blood,
yes.
But no, like you already
drank it.
You already drank it, but he was alive. If you drink the vampire's dead blood,
dead blood,
then you get to become a head vampire.
Do you have like 24 hours to like give it to all your other lackeys? Otherwise, like your henchmen, because
like imagine if like they killed Max right at the end of the movie, and like the mom like accidentally got some blood on her hands and didn't realize it, like and put it up to her mouth. Yeah, it splattered in her mouth a little bit, and she swallowed it.
Yeah,
and that's how you have a sequel.
There you go.
That's how
there
you
you go. That's how you get Lost Boys too.
Those are not my rules. These are the rules of vampiredom. These are what they are.
I don't think we can go high on this. I don't think we can.
No, I mean, do you have a plan if you're just living your life and you're undead?
Not really.
Really, other than having fun and eventually, adding pieces to your crew here and there, but really you're just killing people and having a good time and being a menace.
Not really. I mean, if you're talking Underworld, like that guy had a plan. Like he's got a whole vampire network.
Yeah. And Max had a plan, and it was a good plan, but we're not scoring Max.
No.
So
maybe this is like a 1, man.
It's a 1 or a 2. It's a 1 or a 2 for me. I'm gonna give 2 because he did have eyes on Michael before Max did.
He recruited
for whatever
him
reason.
And he manipulated him.
Yeah.
So I think that's actually pretty good. And he used Jamie Gertz to manipulate him.
By the way, before we move on from Jamie Gertz, she's the only character in this movie that we've done a movie of in the past where she was the fiance. She's the fiance in Twister.
There's a clickbait headline here somewhere like, "You won't believe the actress that the Last Row podcast did. It will shock you."
And let me tell you, the star.
Yeah.
Wow.
She was very, very bright. Put it that way. She was a star.
Yep.
I think two
right?
is where we go. Okay. Now here's where we can spend a little bit of time because we didn't really talk about the other Lost Boys. We talked about Lost Boys, but we didn't talk about Lost Boys. But
a Lost Boy, not Lost Boys.
Yeah, we talked about a Lost Boy who he was lost. All right. I don't know how you feel about these guys, but these guys are some muscle and some henchmen here. There really wasn't a sub boss to speak of. It was, was it 5 of them? I guess if I count that right. If you want to consider Star or Max or even Laddie as part of this.
Yeah, there were 4, and I don't really count Laddie. Well, I guess because she had some persuasion. So yeah, she counts.
What do you think about this? Because I think I don't know how I feel about this.
I feel how I feel about most henchmen. If they are useless in a fight, which these guys were, but they damn sure looked the part. They added the entourage, added to the ambiance of the boss, then you get points from me.
That's how I feel.
Yeah. So I'm going to go 3 just because they looked so good. They like I said before, they looked like Prince band members.
It did.
It's perfect.
It did. And that one guy has a future in another life as a plumber because he cleared out those pipes after he died in the drain. And like, what did you think of that scene where it's just like all the blood and shit just floating out of the pipes, just spraying everywhere? Like that was just like, I couldn't help but laugh.
So what was the cause of that? Is like there was the tub filled with holy water and garlic? I think that's what it was.
But he disintegrated.
Yeah.
But then he went down the pipes and it turned into like a Ghostbusters 2 situation where it was like the vampire guts and like the ooze. But
I like
it was a classic scene to me. I don't know. But I mean, these guys died in pretty weak fashion.
Yeah.
The one guy got shot by a crossbow.
Yeah. And you know what? I think it's the false bravado of them being vampires and really untested.
Yeah.
They thought they're invincible. They thought they could live forever. Even in the scene where they're in the cave and they butcher Alex Winter, and Kiefer's like grabbing at the leg and he gets burned by the sun. That injury, like he was affected by it. Like Kiefer was like, "Whoa!" Like didn't he even shed a tear on it too?
He did. He was crying. He was crying.
Like I think that was the first moment when he realized that, holy shit, I'm not invincible.
Yeah. So
I think that a lot of them dying quickly was false bravado.
It's sort of like a Rufio situation to bring it into another Lost Boys thing. It's like you're going to fight Captain Hook here. You can't do that.
You can't do it. Yeah. Yeah. They thought they were invincible, but really, like there's a lot of ways you can kill a vampire.
Yeah.
The person knows how to do it.
So you're going 3 here.
I think 3 just because the look was so good.
I think that
perfectly wardrobed people.
I think that works, and that puts them at what, like a 15? Man, that's actually
a very high score. It's a very high score.
That's pretty high, and it's mostly because of the look and the style. Like,
but it's fair. You know what? He's an iconic character in a cult classic, so it makes sense to me.
I'll rate these guys here. I'll tell you where he fits. So he's up there now with Catherine Trammell at a 15, Fouchon from Hard Target. He's up there again with Bison from Street Fighter, like right in that range at a 15. Mm-hmm. The only one higher is Terry Silver at a 19. and right below him is Bison and Shang Tsung and the volcano from Dante's Peak. It's pretty good.
Looking forward to the card, to the trading card.
Yeah, we got to get the card out there. If you guys haven't seen, by the way, we'll put links in the notes. Check out on our website, thelastrowpodcast.com. That's where we're posting the links to the trading cards. Shout out to Badway. He's a literary genius for all the descriptions that he writes. So we got to give him a lot of credit for that. And we're having fun with those, and we'll eventually print them out and maybe share some more. But we've got the couple versions of the card now. I'm looking forward to seeing this one come out.
Series, there's going to be multiple series. So series 1 dropping soon. We'll let you know.
Having seen this for the first time, I really enjoyed it. I did realize that there are 2 sequels to this that I've never seen, and they both have some colons. I'm going to read them to you just because it's worth mentioning a colon on this show. So the first one was in 2008. It was The Lost Boys, The Tribe. It's all right. And then the third one of the trilogy, and I think Feldman's in all of these, by the way. The third one was The Lost Boys, quote, The Thirst, which I think is a great one.
Now we're talking.
That's a good colon there.
Yeah, that's a great colon.
So I probably will never watch them.
Yeah, no, you know what? You know what? I correct me if I'm wrong, Lost Boy fans, but I bet a lot of you probably don't care for these or even possibly deny their existence because I bet they're not very good.
It's certainly possible.
But maybe they are. I don't know. Maybe they are, but who knows?
Let us know. Write an email, thelastrowpodcast@gmail.com. Leave a comment on the episodes page. Send us a tweet. Leave a comment on the Facebook page @thelastRowPod, Instagram. And if you're enjoying the show, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Check us out on YouTube as well. Subscribe there. And leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, and Spotify. And we'll probably be doing another Halloween movie since this is October and a month of spooky, Michael. So we'll be back in 2 weeks on Thursday, October 27th, right before Halloween with something else. And we'll put the movie out on all the social channels, so be sure to follow us. And we'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
See ya.
Michael.
So, like, you're in the bathtub.
Yeah.
Water's probably, after a while it gets lukewarm, possibly cold. Some shrinkage involved. There's no worse time to be seen.
They bust in there. I mean, that's.
It's like there's no worse scenario for you in all of your glory to be seen.
The only worst scenario is somebody pours holy water in there, and then you just completely disintegrate, and your balls fall off, and then you're dead. That guy, what disappeared first? His face or his junk?
His junk shrinked.